right, Andy, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for making the time. I'm so excited to chat with you. I think you're one of the funnest guests that I have. This is what I'm starting to see. So I'm really excited to chat with you and get to know you a little bit more.
Cool. I'm excited to be here.
So to give the audience a little bit of a background about who you are and kind of your career snapshot, tell us a little bit more about how did you come around doing what you're doing today?
Well, I think it was almost process of elimination. I think I did everything else until I got to this. So I actually started out in the traditional music industry. After college, I worked in sales and marketing at record labels. EMI was the label that I worked for 4-ish years. And then I actually went to what I like to call entertainment tech, which was a wide variety of things, everything from when they had record stores, like the little kiosks that you'd actually have in the record stores, like a little I product managed the kiosks that you'd go to the record stores to look up things that they didn't have in stock. Did some marketing and promotion for CMJ, which is like the billboard of college radio. But it was when they're trying to .comify themselves, and worked on some of the earlier music subscription services. So that's a joint venture between Sony and Universal called Press Play. And then actually went to telecom, but telecom as in putting music on cell phones. So worked for Nextel and Sprint, and then worked for a vendor who did the same thing or similar things for folks like Verizon, T-Mobile. And then I actually was in Northern Virginia, realized there's not a lot of entertainment back in Northern Virginia. I had moved back to Northern Virginia from New York. I was in New York for 10 years and realized, you know what, if I want to stay here close to family, I got 3 kids. It's not a lot of things. So I actually took a different move and went to work on mobile for Capital One. I was at Capital One for 6 or 7 years, and then a company called Centene before making the transition where, I started building this new business, voiceover, which is what brought me here. And that came through a written out bucket list is something I always wanted to do.
Hey you, thanks for watching. If you're enjoying this episode, make sure to share it with friends and family who might find it interesting. Make sure to hit the subscribe button as well to stay up to date on weekly new videos that are going to be coming out with some awesome guests that I bring on. And if you have any questions, use the comment section to ask me questions, to interact. I look forward to talking to you. That's awesome. And were you, when you were like younger, were you always like making kind of different voices? Was it like a thing you were doing for fun, or because you're really good at it? And I'm sure you're going to bring that out a little bit, but I'm just curious, like, because it's a talent. So did you always have this talent?
I guess so. I mean, it's kind of funny. Like, you don't really realize there's things you're just passionate about. Like me and my cousin would always kind of make little voices, like, hey, how you doing over there? And, we would actually like talk back and forth with that. And I was always just kind of weird, and this fit. But there's always like, it's a variety, because there's also people always said, oh, you have like a face for radio, but like, or which is true. So you kind of have like the Elmo guy, but you also have like the in these changing times type of, more professional thing. And they all work in voiceover because there's a lot of different genres.
Yeah. So at what time? So what was there anything specific that happened, or I don't know, you mentioned you kind of saw that there's like a gap in entertainment, but what was it about the voiceover you're like, this is it, this is the thing I want to do? And was there a particular moment that you're like, that's what I'm going to do as a business?
Well, there's a combination of things. There's the corporate me, which basically realized over time, I don't really kind of like being corporate me. There's a lot of things I do like about being in corporate, but I never felt like I've felt like I've like completely fit. And I've always tried to be my authentic self, which has a ceiling to it. I like building my own business and kind of answering to my own thing. And then the other thing is that I've always been kind of passionate about all facets of a business, and the ability to build your own does that. I had a written out, well, not had, have a written out bucket list of things I would like to do. And every year I look at it and say, what are those 3 things I'm going to do this year? And one year I said, you know what? I've always kind of talked about this. It's time to stop messing around, and started down that path. And as we talk, I can talk about what that path looks like, because I know some of your audience really looks about like, how do you get to career change? And I can talk a little bit how I kind of like little by little found my way to building this business that I'm building.
Yeah, no, please do. Let's get into that. I'd love to hear more about it. What was the thought process?
Well, there's a book I read called Designing Your Life. I don't know if folks out there many people know design thinking. The folks that made design thinking wrote this book, and I looked at it as a way to figure out, well, how does this thing that I think I want to do play into it? And essentially, the spoiler alert, there's essentially like a series of exercises that it has you go through. And one of them is basically creating multiple versions of your life. A plan A, and there's not a plan A and a plan B. There's a plan A and also plan A and another plan A. And things that you'd ultimately be happy with, because exercises talk about like your worldview, your professional view, et cetera, and how do they play into it. And once you've created those versions of your life, it suggests you test and learn your way into them, which is what I essentially did. So I dipped my foot in the pool initially by taking some training with a place called Edge Studio. It's a national studio. They have it's actually fantastic. There's a series of classes that also partner with coaches, and I took a couple classes along with it. Worked with the coach for my initial demo, which was in commercial, and got up every morning like 5 or 6 a.m. before everybody in the house was asleep. Everyone in the house was asleep, so I'd come down here in this room, which I'll talk a little bit in a sec. But I would actually go rehearse to try to get better every day, and it's kind of rehearsing with no point of like, there's no money in it yet, but work towards that. And over time, got better and better. Made a demo, and then started building the aspects of the business that are more than just this part, because there's a whole bunch that goes into it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so interesting. So let's pause here for a moment for the I want you to show the picture of the room.
Oh, yeah.
Such a so for people that are watching this on video, you guys are going to see a very nice, where all the magic happened, right? Can we see that?
Sure. So when I started, I don't know if you can see this. Can you see that picture?
Yep.
All right. So what I'm describing here is on the left is the same room that I'm in right now that you see that looks kind of pretty. That's on the right, was a closet. I had to make a room sound better. You actually need to give it what's called sound treatment, get rid of some of the echoes and what have you. So there's sleeping bags and blankets and closet everywhere in this room. And I've got little panels here. It's really makeshift. And because I didn't necessarily want to invest a lot of money until I really knew, oh no, I'm actually going to do this thing. And this is a 6x8 closet. Over to my left is actually the storage room, and to my right is a guest bedroom. However, I, after several years of the training and building the business, realized this is actually something that I should be investing in. Had it gutted, soundproofed the room, had some things put in the wall, treated the room next to it so that people could actually, I didn't have to say to my wife, who works like catty corner, like upstairs, when she was on calls, I was like, all right, this is a house of ninjas. No one says anything. You're all quiet in here, because I when I was recording. So I spent the money to get it there. But even at the beginning, I still was able to figure out a way, just a much cheaper way, in that test and learn of like, okay, I'll buy some cheap equipment, but not like super cheap, but cheaper equipment, get the room to a certain state, and then try to build, and then found that inflection point where, okay, it's still a little scary. I'm not really sure this is going to be a thing, but it was a good point. And now you can see this room is it's a professional studio.
Yeah, that's amazing. You know what I appreciate so much about this is, and this is exactly why I started the podcast, is because throughout my career, of course, I'm in talent development and career development field. So I would talk to people all the time about career change. And what I've realized is there's this theme of people just don't know where to start, or they don't have they don't want to invest a lot of money in specific change. Because like, especially if you're starting a business that has like, you need to invest some certain things, etc. And what I love about it, and when I talk to my guests, and like you example you just gave, is that you just have to start, right? And sometimes it's just starting as just to think about what is it that you want to do and start to experiment. So like, I love you have like plan A, plan A, plan B, plan A, but the idea is to just have an idea of what you want to do and try to execute on it. And in your case, it was just like, listen, take a closet, soundproof it to the best of your ability, test it out, experiment with it, see if that's actually what you want to do. And then it kind of worked out for you, and then you went and invested. It's a beautiful kind of story you can see. And this is what I see quite often with people. And I think we get paralyzed in that moment where we're like, we know we want to make a change, but we don't know where to start or how to start. And the key is to just little steps, like baby steps. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to spend a whole lot of money on stuff. You just do whatever you can with what you have, and you'd be surprised how much there's opportunity for you to create the career you want, to experiment. And again, it might work first time, maybe it will take 5 times, but I just love it. So I thank you for sharing that photo. I think it's a very nice imagery of the journey.
Yeah, that's some amazing wisdom. No, it's absolutely true. I found that it's actually really intimidating. Doing anything new is intimidating anyway. And doing something that's like personal, like when you go out and act like an idiot, like I do, um, you it's scary. And I remember actually my first coach was kind of more of a tough love coach.
Yeah.
And which I thought I had thick skin, but my skin actually isn't as thick as I thought it was. So I would give a performance and then kind of stare at me, and I realized, oh, Shauza, that probably wasn't as good as I thought it sounded. But getting out there, like, what's the worst? I'm not going to die.
Yeah.
And these little and I got better, and little incremental steps. Seeing you have to actually, if you're not doing something scary, then you're not doing you're not really pushing your life. I said to a friend of mine, I was like, if you don't get fired at least once in your life, then you're not trying hard enough.
Listen, yeah, I'm with you there. I've made a decision a long time ago to do something that is just difficult on regular basis. And I'm not talking about putting myself through a difficult situation, but just as simple as like, I don't know, doing something harder at the gym, or like signing up to run like, I don't know, a 10 miler or a half marathon, just to push myself to do challenging things that would take me out of my comfort zone. And
Yeah.
for me, it's always sports, because I feel like if you can do challenging things at the gym, you almost reprogram your mind to do other hard things, because you're telling your mind like, hey, you could jump on this box, or you could do this many push-ups.
Yeah.
And then in business, I feel like it applies very much, because whenever a challenge comes, your mind operates as like, I can do this because I've done difficult things in the past. And again, for me, I relate it to like physical activities, but as well as other things. But I feel like the physical part is like easy to access for anybody, anytime, right? We can all try to do, I don't know, difficult, I don't know, whatever sport you want to choose for fun. And I think that it has such an impact. It's had personal on me, on my mindset in business, to like do difficult things. So yeah.
Do difficult things. I like that. Well, yeah, I think about like it's anybody. You think about your life. Think about some time where you made this tremendous change. That shiz did not happen by being safe. Like, you think about what got you there. It was not being safe. You did that being safe, then you're a rich mofo. Because that's about it.
Exactly.
Things just do not fall in your lap. So doing something that's a little scary is the only way to get there. And if it's super scary, then make it just little scary, and that'll work out, because that kind of, those little steps are how you get there.
Yeah. So how long has it been since you started, like when you've kind of let go of that corporate life?
So yeah, I mean, I started building the business, and I mean, it wasn't that long ago. It was 2017, 2018. So which, doesn't seem that long. Is that 4 years, 5 years, something like that? But it actually is just, each year is kind of built and built and built. And there are different aspects to it. There's the part of like the part I love about building your own business is there's so many facets. There's okay, I need to get better at my craft. And I always am. I'm still coach. I mean, everybody does. Like you want to continually get better.
Yeah.
Then there's the actual equipment part of it. So there's the technical part. There's the getting better at the editing software. There's the acoustics of the room and learning about acoustics. There's the marketing of the business. And that's, I would actually say that's one of the harder things for folks that are in more creative fields to master. I'm in an accountability group, which I absolutely, absolutely, absolutely recommend to anybody starting anything new. Get an accountability buddy, get an accountability group. People that are doing things like yours. I'm in a group of like 20 folks. They're freaking awesome. And because you can bounce things off of them. One
Yeah.
of the things I've found is there are folks that are absolutely amazing at this. Like I think I'm pretty good at this. There are people that I think are amazing at
Yeah.
this, and the marketing part scares them more than I feel like it could or should, because
Mhm.
they're just amazing. You just have to put yourself out there. Because of my corporate life, I have an MBA in marketing and entrepreneurship, because I got that when I was in New York at NYU, and so that part isn't all of it's isn't as scary to me. So I'm a Steelers fan, but I actually always say, like, I kind of feel like I'm the New England Patriots in their heyday, which I hate that because I hate Tom Brady. But it's like the thing that made them great is that there wasn't one thing that was great. There was a lot of things that they were very, very good at. And I
Mm.
think that's to be able to succeed in doing your own business, at least this one, you can't just be great at one thing. You have to be, at least you can be amazing, but you have to be very good at the other things, or just going to fall over.
Yeah, absolutely. Such a multidimensional journey in general. What I also see, and again, I'm sure you can relate to some of this, but what I also see when people start and then when they look back at like if you were to look back at like 2017, the work that you've done, do you sometimes like cringe? You're like, oh my God, was that me? Or is it like, because you are continuously improving, and that's one of the things that holds people back sometimes. It's like, no, I have to be perfect, and I'm like, it's never going to be perfect. Like, it's just not. You're going to start off sucking, and that's okay. It's just gonna, it is what it is. But
Yeah.
the only way to improve is to just do it. Do you ever look back at your journey?
Yeah, I do. And I guess the beauty of what of voiceover is you actually record your stuff. So I can look back. So it's
All on
actually very
record.
easy to look back and go, oh wow. Um and so I started out in doing commercial, then I expanded into e-learning. And now I'm branching further into animation. And funny enough, animations come the most naturally to me of the three. I've and But in each one of them, I can see the trajectory, and sometimes you don't hear it as well when you're going through it, and you look back, you go, "Oh yeah, I did get better." Yeah, you can absolutely see it, and yeah, to your point, just small steps, especially things that are scary. Then make it as less scary as you can. But if you make it too unscary, then you may not be getting anywhere. Put
Yeah.
yourself out there.
Yeah, listen, that's what it's all about. There's no magic. There's no magic, right, to this. It's just trying things. And like you said earlier, like most of the time, people like what's the worst that will happen? And people will say no and they don't like it, and then everybody forgets about you the
Yeah.
next day anyway. So it's like it's really just you overcoming your own kind of BS to your own I don't know, uncertainty or imposter syndrome or insecurity or whatever people experience. And yeah, the safest way to do it in those small steps.
Yeah,
Um,
and oh, so go ahead.
please go ahead.
One thing that I also would say is don't make it so impossible for yourself. One thing that has been useful is basically like you have a funding source. So, like, you know what? I'm a voiceover artist now. Everybody pay me the money. Money, please. That doesn't work. So figuring out a way to actually, make your side hustle grow your side hustle to a point of where you get that inflection point.
Yeah,
Because if if you don't do that, then all you've made it to the point of where it's like do or die, and it's die because businesses take time.
yeah,
And I think that the temptation is to figure out, well, I don't have the time to do both, and none of us have the time to do both. So I have 3 kids. I'm married. And I I value and want to spend time with my family and my friends, I also want to build a business. I also want to contribute to the world. So figuring out that mix, some days you're like, man, I fell down on the job on one of those things, or
Yeah.
many of them, or all of them. But, you know, figuring out that way and kind of creating a plan, both monthly, quarterly, daily, is a way to kind of keep yourself accountable. And going back to that accountability group, I love the folks in my accountability group. That's a way to kind of like report back and talk about the things that you're doing. And it's a forcing function to make sure that you're like, oh, I said I was going to do these things. Oh, I did these things. Or, yeah, I did not do these things. Why am I not doing them?
Yeah. Yeah. You know what I love that you mentioned is about kind of, it's almost like, sounds like, sometimes you just have to prioritize certain things, and sometimes things are going to fall through. I was talking to a lady a while back. She had a very high position in a corporate, and she had 2 kids and a husband, and friends, and other kind of responsibilities and stuff like that. And I remember chatting with her, and she said, and we talked about the balance, like how do you balance, especially like in the corporate, like how do you balance the family life and the corporate and trying to succeed, etc. And she said, you just always feel guilty. And I don't know if it's good or bad, but she's like, you just feel guilty. She's like, when I'm at work, I feel guilty that I'm not with my kids, and when I'm with my kids, I feel like my work is not getting the best of me. But she's like, it's just a balance, and so you're not going to be perfect in every way, and that's why I think it's even more important to do something you enjoy and to do something that gives you purpose, because like you said, it's about contributing to the world. And if you're in a job, like, even it doesn't have to be a business, but even if you're just in a job that you don't enjoy, right, or a job that drains you, then of course that becomes even heavier, because you are like, you're not here nor are you here. So it's like you're not having joy. So I think it's so important to enjoy what you're doing, again, whether it's corporate career or whether it's a business or whatever it may be, because it is going to take from your time. And I don't think there's a balance necessarily. I think it just comes down to priorities, and sometimes some things are going to take over than others. And it's just, at the end of the day, it's about making time, and we're not perfect human beings, and we only have 24 hours, right? And we need sleep.
True facts.
So.
Yeah. I absolutely agree with that. There's 2 things that made me think of. Like, one is that like a kind of a allegory. Is that the right metaphor? Whatever the hell it is. I've lived my life with my shoe untied. I feel like it's like I can see it's untied, but I got bigger things to do. And that's kind of like, and it's both true, because my shoes are always untied, but it kind of metaphorically as well. And then I read this thing yesterday-ish. Someone was talking about, I think their like career at Amazon, and they said that one of their skip levels said something interesting to them. They said, every day there's 100 things for you to do. There are 20 of them that are like important, move things forward, whatever they are, personal, professional, etc. You have time to do 5. So you could pick from those 20 and you'd be right, but what are those 5 that you're going to do? And then you have to give yourself permission to forget the other 15, because otherwise you're never going to even move forward those 5. I use, I don't know if you know David Allen Coe's Getting Things Done.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of my personal operating system. And back in my putting music on cell phone days, Nextel, they actually brought the author in, and he spoke to us, and I was like, this is life-changing, because one of the things they talked about was giving yourself permission to forget the things that you're working on, because they just kind of cloud up your mind. He had said, okay, everyone, write down what you're thinking about. And he spent like 5 minutes writing that shiz down. And he's like, okay, how many of those things that are on there do you actually have a good reminder system on? And like, none of them. And that was, he said, it was like making a contract with yourself to, when you write something down, it's like a contract with yourself. And if you have a good reminder system of like, okay, I know in 6 months I'm going to do X, Y, or Z, it leaves your mind, and it actually frees you up to actually do the things that you need to do. So, which is not quite what we were talking about, but it's a good tangent.
No, it's a perfect example, because I think, again, time is the biggest challenge. Usually people always talk about time and money, right? Whenever they're doing anything or trying to achieve something, and it comes down to priorities, time management, like productivity versus just being busy, which is a lot of people are. And a lot of it is about energy management as well. And if you're able to and a lot of energy management happens in our minds, because if we're continuously overwhelmed with thoughts and to-do lists and we don't empty the mind, it's very difficult to actually stay focused and get things done.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's I think we're a lot of times in our minds, and when I work with people, I say, write down the things that you're doing, because I bet you it's a lot heavier in your mind versus when you actually put it on a piece of paper and you're like, oh, this is achievable, I can do this. And also when you actually empty the mind and put it on in front of you, it allows you to realize that it's actually some things are not as important as you gave it, priorities in the mind. It's really not as important as you thought it was. So, and you can let those things go. So I'm a huge fan of that strategy. So
true. I was talking to my wife about this yesterday, and I realized that I'm super aggressive when it comes to the things I think I'm going to do. Like I'm like a taskmaster with myself. I'm like, get off me, come on, get back up. But and so I will give myself a task and then realize, okay, I said I was going to do this in 2 weeks, but dude, I'm not doing this in 2 weeks. So I move it forward. But the thing that that I believe, I could be fudging this, but I believe that one of the things that in getting things done is, like, if you look at a task like 3 times and you've moved it 3 times, then you need to assess, okay, is the task too big? Or are you really going to do this? So is there a way to look at it differently so it gets done? And I usually trick myself into thinking, no, I'm really going to do it just later. And so I'll keep moving it on. But what I probably need to do is to be a little bit more realistic in when I'm going to do things. One of the things that I'd love to do at some point is actually supplement voiceover stuff with t-shirt business. Funny enough, like I'm always wearing like kind of like strange shirts,
I'm gonna ask you about it, by the way.
Yeah. And I kind of want to do that, and I have this task of exploring that, and I keep kicking it up, pushing it down the road, because there are things in the voiceover that I'm still expanding and building. I'm still building this business, and I don't so I keep pushing that down. And what I probably need to do is be more realistic of when is that inflection point to do that, versus like, oh no, I'm never going to do it. No, I am going to do it. It's just when. And I need to give myself the grace to say, okay, no, it's not 3 months from now. It's probably a year from now.
Yeah.
And but give myself permission by like putting it a year from now so it pops up.
Yeah. And I think that's the mindset of just an entrepreneur, like, because you're always seeing that next thing and that next thing, and you have to really like pause, because I think once you start executing and you realize, like, I feel like I don't know how to explain, but it's like one of those things where what I see in our business is that there's so many things that we can do and we know we can do, but also we're limited in certain capacities. But it's like, once you work out a nice little strategy of, like you said, when to do those things, you can actually get those things done maybe over 2 years, 3 years. But there's a lot of sub businesses and side opportunities that come out of your original thought and idea and what you're doing, because you're already in that thought process of that, maybe, I don't know, whether it's agile process where you're just experimenting, trying things and see what works, see what doesn't work. And I feel like once you're in that entrepreneurship mindset, it's like there's no stopping. I rarely see entrepreneurs who are just like doing that one thing and that one thing only. Usually they have multiple areas that they're dipping their toes in at different times while they have this main business as well. Would you agree?
I 100% agree. I have like this longer term vision of, can I curse on this?
Yes.
Okay. So I have a longer term vision of a museum I want to open up called Shit I Find Funny, which I before I would absolutely go to that museum, which I don't even know what's going to be in it, but I mean, like I always go to Atlas Obscura every time I want to go somewhere, because there's like some really cool things. We just went to Austin. I went to the Cathedral of Junk, which I thought was amazing. But yes, I was thinking, if I saw a museum, I don't even care what's in it, I'm going to that.
Yeah. Should I find funny? It's funny, just the name.
Exactly. I'm going there. What's in it?
Yeah, for sure.
The worst part is like if you like have a different sense of humor, so when people go, oh,
yeah. But there's an audience for everything. That's what I've learned. There's an audience for everything out there. Yeah.
I like a lot of giving out a lot of refunds. Mm-mm.
That's
Get
awesome.
sued for false advertising.
So tell me about your shirt. So for those that are listening but not watching this, he's wearing a black shirt, and so am I. We're very much matching it in sync this Friday morning.
Yes.
But generic, what is it? What is generic? Is it
There's absolutely no point in it. I think it's actually kind of a I actually try to be self-deprecating, and it's like, okay, I don't think I'm generic. So it's kind of like a
it's
I'm
yeah,
generic, but I'm
yeah,
not generic.
love
So
it.
yeah, I have like a random assortment of shirts, and each one has absolutely no meaning usually. Just
But do you make them, or you make
oh
them,
no 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 no
or
no
you
no
just
no no
get them
no.
randomly from someone?
I just like I have a concept and like I like go and it's like, you know what'd be funny is having this on a shirt. And I go, it's like, did someone make this? Oh, someone did. I'm going to make
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And but my idea is that there'll be things that people don't have. Like for example, I want to have a shirt that says I stand by this look, you know, just
That's funny. That's a good one.
yeah.
No, that's cool. I always appreciate a good shirt, like just a simple shirt with some kind of hidden meaning or just something
Yeah.
funny
Yeah.
behind it. So that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. So I've never actually met somebody who does voiceover. So can you give us a snapshot, which I'm sure there's no typical day, but if you had a typical day of what does it look like, or a week, whatever makes sense, what does it look like? Voiceover, creative, entrepreneur, what is your regular, or your average week is like, for example?
The majority of the time is spent actually getting the work.
Mhm.
Now that you talk about different people in their career, probably later stage career, that percentage probably flips a little bit. Um, but it is there's a big part that's marketing. So I have a virtual assistant or virtual assistants who
Mhm.
help me actually find new leads, who I then proactively reach out because the business is there's a variety of sources. I've got stuff that come from agent, stuff that comes from what's called pay to play, and stuff that comes from direct marketing, and some things that come in from social media, and um, from and then repeat clients, things that come from repeat
Okay.
clients. Um, and where you are in your career, depending on where you are, that percentage will go up or down. So there's the marketing aspect, which can run from I was just working on a rebranding that I'm going to be doing for my website. So working on the aspect of the messaging and what have you there, the stuff that came from my virtual assistant, getting that into my CRM. I use HubSpot as my CRM.
Mhm.
Invoicing, I work on invoicing clients, so I use Wave Apps as my invoicing. So there's a bunch of the businessy things.
Yeah.
Um, then I uh, this more yesterday I was talking to my daughter about the interface, my microphone interface, my preamp that I have, that is actually creating a sound that I don't like, that I have to always have to edit out. So I'm actually working on the equipment part of the performance. So I said, hey, can I borrow, because my two oldest are actually in performing arts. My oldest, he produces and DJs and plays music. My daughter, she sings and plays all kinds of instruments. My youngest is math and science, and and I don't think I'm that stupid, but I never understand what he's telling me. So there's the equipment part, and then actually later today I'm in a workout group, which sounds like it's, oh, we're working out, but it's for animation. There's like 3 or 4 folks that get together, and we essentially rehearse scripts and give each other feedback. So there's working out, and then there's auditioning, which do a decent amount each day that comes in, and then there's doing the job. So then there's I just working on this thing for a construction company, and doing a bit of they were revising what their core principles internally, and then I have this thing that's coming up that's like announcing an event, and there's a couple other things as it relates to e-learning that I'm working on, and then
Mhm.
there's a commercial that's coming up. So it is a wide variety, and the
Yeah.
folks I've worked with have ranged from, I did something with AT&T, Amazon, which is like that's kind of cool,
Yeah.
and to my sister said, "Hey, we have this event thing for my company. Can you do the thing that goes with our training?"
Yeah,
Yeah, it really really ranges
yeah, that's
in the way
awesome.
the things you do.
Yeah, and again, like, when you're, for those people that are listening to going into business, it's very rarely this one initial thing that you thought you're going to be doing, and it's usually going to be a variety of different avenues and streams and opportunities that are going to come, and that's the beauty of it, because it's continuously changing, and it's a roller coaster, and some days it's amazing and it's great, and some days you just want to cry in your pillow, but that's the beauty of it, actually, and that's the highs are really high, the lows are really low, but the diversity of it all is just I feel like it just makes you such a well-rounded overall professional in whatever field you are, because you're just continuously like innovating, creating, coming up with different things, and what you described is just it's all connected, right? But
Yeah.
it's so diversified as well, and that's what I love about entrepreneurship. I think it's just a journey on its own.
That's absolutely true. Especially that highs and lows thing. It's feast or famine, and you can get really, really cold. And I will tell you, going back to my accountability group, it's each time we meet, it's you have folks that are just riding the high, and they're like, oh, I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this, and the next person's like, damn, I don't even want to go now
Yeah,
because I haven't booked all month or in 2 months or what have you,
yeah,
and it's it can you can look at it two ways. You can be like, what's wrong with me, or like, oh no, it's all cyclical and I'm going to be back there again, and that's what happens. And it is you kind of have to, going back to your imposter syndrome, like you can't be like, oh well, I don't belong here. It's like, no, you have a talent. That's why you're doing the thing you're doing and why people have paid you to do it. You just have
exactly.
to realize that sometimes luck doesn't shine on you, and sometimes luck's like, hell yeah, I like that guy.
We're riding the wave,
Yeah,
yeah, for
yeah.
sure, for
Or
sure.
like that guy or that person. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. I think it's very relevant, and I think whoever's listening to it, I think it speaks to many people. Again, whether in their careers or entrepreneurship. So that's awesome. Andy, where can people follow you, find you if they want to check out some of the things that you're doing? Maybe they have some opportunities. Where would they? What's the best place for you?
So probably go to my website. You can go to andysaysit.com, like SAYS, andysaysit.com. You can find me on the socials. So I'm on LinkedIn under, you can go to my business. You can look at my business, Andy Says It, or you can look for me on LinkedIn, which is a little harder to spell. Andy, and last name is Lipshultz, Lipshultz. And that's probably business wise the best places to find me. You can also email me at andysaysit@gmail, or you can use telekinesis, just think really hard. Yeah,
And feel free
I pick up on those things too sometimes.
Yes. And I'm definitely going to drop it all in the description. So make sure to check it out if you guys are interested to get in touch with Andy. Andy, it's a pleasure.
Oh,
Thank you
thank you, this was
so much.
awesome.
It's a great way for me to start my weekend. I really enjoyed this conversation, and we'll continue on, and hopefully we'll hear you on different places.
Cool, thank you, this is cool.